In this video, we're going to improve the Business Trips app using scripts. With the current settings, employees can see the amount of allowance they are going to get on the creation form. All they need to do is to specify the business trip's duration. In this video, we'll set up automatic calculation of the trip's duration and allowance amount. The business trip's duration will be calculated by subtracting the starting date from the completion date. Moreover, we'll add validation for these fields. First, let's open the form settings in the advanced mode and create the information field of the string type on the Context tab. It will display the error message if the date the trip starts is later than the date it ends. In the previous video, we set a formula for the amount of allowance field. Let's deselect the checkbox, as we won't need this option anymore, and clean the default value. Now we'll add this new property to the creation and editing forms and check the hide if the field is empty box. Let's do the same for the business trip duration and amount of allowance fields. Next, we'll open the creation form settings. Let's add the information property to the form. As the values of this field and the business trip duration field are going to be calculated automatically, let's mark them as read-only. To make the appearing error message red, we'll write the needed style in the HTML styles in the information field settings. Let's set up the calculation of fields depending on the dates of the business trip. To do that, let's open the starting date field settings, go to the Events tab, and create a script in the onValueChangeHandler field. Now we'll go to the Scripts tab of the Interface Designer. Let's write the script. By default, the business trip duration and amount of allowance fields are not defined, and the information field is empty. If the dates the user entered are valid, we're going to make the necessary calculations. Let's unify the date format for further calculations. Now we can calculate the duration of the business trip in days. Then we can calculate the amount of allowance. In our case, the employee is entitled to $15 a day. We need to multiply this amount by the trip's duration. If the dates are valid, the information field has to remain empty. If the user entered invalid dates, the error message will be displayed. The business trip duration and amount of allowance fields will remain empty. Now let's add the same script to the Events tab in the Completion Date field settings. We can publish the form template. Let's create a business trip and see how the date validation that we set up works. If the starting and completion dates are reasonable, the system will calculate the trip's duration and amount of allowance automatically. To further improve the business trips app, we need to add the superior field for the user who is going to approve the trip. Let's create a user's type field in the app context and add it to the creation, view, and editing forms. When users create business trips, they have to fill out the employee and superior fields manually. But these values can be entered automatically when the creation form is opened. To arrange for this, let's open the Scripts tab in the Creation Form template and write a script. This function is used to define some fields on the form upon its initiation. We need the current user to appear in the employee field. Then we need to define the employee's superior based on the company's organizational chart. Let's make employee a read-only field. The user who approves the trip may sometimes be the project manager, not the employee's line manager. In this case, the employee needs to edit the superior field and select a different user, so we'll make this field editable. The value of this field will later be passed to the process. Let's publish the form template. When a user opens the creation form, the employee and superior fields are pre-filled. It is possible to change the superior if needed. In the previous video, we configured when the report tab needs to be shown. It is hidden when the Fill out the report now is switched to No. We need Business Trip Report to become a required field when it becomes available. We'll link the required field option in its settings with a property that would pass either true or false. True will mark the field as required, false will make it optional. Let's open the form's settings in the advanced mode and create a new property on the Context tab. We'll name it Required Field Parameter and make it a yes/no switch. The default value needs to be no, as by default the report doesn't need to be filled out, the Business Trip Report field is hidden, and naturally it shouldn't be a required field. When the report needs to be filled out, the required field parameter needs to switch to yes. To do that, we'll write a short script that will run when the value of Fill out the report now changes. Let's open the editing form template and open this field's settings. On the Events tab, we'll add a script. Don't forget that, as we configured in the previous video, No in the Fill out the report now switch evaluates to true, while Yes evaluates to false. That's why the required field parameter will evaluate to true when the Fill out the report now evaluates to false, when its value is yes. And the other way around. When the Fill out the report now evaluates to true, when its value is no, false will be passed to the required field parameter. Let's get back to the settings of the report field and link the required field option with the required field parameter we have created. As the field's value is defined using a script, we don't need to add it to the form. It's time to publish the template. Let's open the business trip and edit it. The default value of the Fill out the report now is no. So the Report tab is hidden from the form. If we switch it to yes, the tab will become available. At the same time, it's a trigger for a script that makes Business Trip Report a required field.